So if you're doing the Efficient Frontier project for the class, you need to do something for other. That's 10% of the grade. So one of the things you could do is do a attribution of a fund. So I'll just walk you through the process. It's not too difficult to do, and it's a really good exercise, especially if you're interviewing for jobs, because a lot of firms do this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Yahoo Finance. So just go to the Yahoo Finance page. I'm going to find some fund. You might do one you're interested in, or just look for. I'm just going to look for one. You can't do the one I'm about to do now, but I'm going to try Fidelity. So I'll type in Fidel with a T. I'm going to look for a small cap fund. So I'm going to type the word small, and if the internet will work, it will bring up. Yeah, it takes a while sometimes. Well, I'll hit enter and try to force it. So I didn't find that, so I'll try it again. There it goes. You see that Fidelity and the word small. They got this Fidelity Small Cap Discovery. I don't know what that is. Let's try that one. I'll click on that one. And it's going to bring up the fund. You can look at it, the profile of it. You can see it's small blend, which is, this one to be careful of. If you got a small value fund, you want to make sure your benchmark is small cap value. If you have small cap growth, you want to make sure your benchmark is small cap growth. All right, this is small cap blend. All right, so I'll show you some of the indices that are you'll be able to tell. There is a Russell 2000 growth index. There's a Russell 2000 value index. There's a Russell 2000 index. So I'm going to use it because this is blend. Y'all can see it's small and it's blend, so it's not value or growth. It's got a really high expense ratio, but that's okay. So let's just look at it big picture. So I'll bring the graph over, and I'm going to compare it. I'm going to compare it to the S&P Small Company Index. So that's caret SML. And we can see how it's done. Let me do max, see if it will show me. So you can see the blue line is the Fidelity Small Cap, and the red line is the S&P. So you can see over this entire period, the S&P Small Cap Index is materially outperformed the Fidelity. All right, so what we want to do is we want to bring this data in. Now for small cap, we can't compare it to an index, so that's one thing you got to be careful with. The index, you can in Yahoo Finance use the index because Yahoo Finance indexes only are price only. They don't include dividends. So we got to compare it to something else. So what I'm going to compare it to is that Vanguard has an index fund . This one right here, NAESX, small cap index fund, that has been around for the longest time. So let's just keep track of that. Let's write that down. NAESX, so someone remember that. And we're going to take the Fidelity fund, FSCRX. We're going to compare that. So I'm going to go into Excel. You don't need Bloomberg to do this, but Bloomberg can be helpful, but you can do this entire thing from home. So I'll go into Excel, blank spreadsheet. I'm just going to paste that ticker so I know what it is. And what was the other one? NAESX?
NAESX.
Alright, so this is the Fidelity, I forgot what, small cap discovery or something. And my benchmark is not going to be the S&P Small Cap Index Fund. It's going to be the Vanguard Index Fund. Which I actually like doing that better because if you tell your client, hey, you could have bought the Fidelity Small Cap Discovery Fund or you could have just bought the Small Cap Index. Well, you can't buy a Small Cap Index. It doesn't exist. But you can buy the Vanguard Small Cap Index Fund. So you're actually comparing it to something they could have actually done. So I kind of like using an index fund even better. So FSCRX, those are two funds. Is that the actual name of it? Fidelity Small Cap Discovery. Yeah, so that's good. All right, so what we're going to do is, here's the Fidelity Small Cap Fund. I need historical prices. So I'm going to bring those in. Y'all remember daily, weekly, monthly? What? You remember what we said in class, most likely? It's almost always monthly, almost always monthly. So we'll bring in monthly. It goes back to 2000, so we'll bring in monthly numbers. And then you go down, y'all know how to go down to the bottom of this. You dump it into Excel. And which of these data points do we want? You want the adjusted close. That way you get the dividends in there. So I'm going to bring this one over to my spreadsheet. So this is the FSCRX NAVs. And then I want to compare it to the Vanguard, NAESX. And the wonderful thing about, and this is maybe one advantage of doing a small cap fund, is that this Vanguard index fund has been around since the 70s, so you got plenty of data. So I'm going to bring that in on a monthly basis, download it into the spreadsheet, open it up. Again, I just need the adjusted close. And here, because this is an actual mutual fund, the adjusted close will include dividends, so that's better than just using, you don't want to compare yourself to a price index only because you really are understating the return. So I'm going to bring that over and copy it down. So when you copy it down, you make sure you bring over the dates for both of them, and then just go to the bottom and make sure your starting date is the same. Now 9/26 versus 10/2, I'm going to take that one out because I'm not sure about that starting date. It might be a different date, so I'm going to get rid of that first one. And so I've got my fidelity. I've got my benchmark. I can get rid of the dates. All I need is my fidelity, my Vanguard. I'm going to format it so it looks nice and professional. Got my dates. The next thing I do, y'all know how I always do this, highlight everything and sort it. I like to go youngest to oldest. So I'm going back to 2000. So we got about 15 years of data. That's not great, but it's not terrible. I'm going to pretty it up. And now I'm going to get my returns. My returns are just the ending value divided by the beginning value minus 1. So those are my monthly returns. So bring in the monthly returns. And wow, that first month, Fidelity did a great job versus the S&P 500 just that first month. And I'll copy those all the way down. And so at the very, very bottom down here, I can do the average, the annualized average, and I can do this standard deviation, the annualized standard deviation. Now, if you took my investment class, we talked about two types of averages. You might remember the two types. Geometric and arithmetic, right? We're actually going to do, when you're looking at historical, and we talked about this in my class, when you're looking at how you actually did historically, the geometric is the better number, all right? So we're going to do the geometric average. So how do we do the geometric averages? So here's their holding period returns. And then we're going to do their linked returns that do geometric. So how do you do that? You say, what if I started with $1 in each one of these? And with that dollar, I made each month's return. So you just link it. You remember how you link those? Does that look familiar? You take the dollar. Oh, I left one thing out. Dollar times 1 plus the return. Does that look familiar? So I start with $1 the next month. I take that dollar, multiply by 1 plus my return for this month. So if I started with $1 and I lost 4.27%, I would have that much left at the end of the first month. Does that make sense? And then in the second month, if I started with 96 cents and then I made $12.45, I would have $1.08 at the end of the month. So you're just building your portfolio up. That's how geometrically linked returns work. Any questions on that? Some of y'all didn't have my investment class, so hopefully you got it in your other class. So how many periods do we have? So I'm just gonna go back and do equal count A, count my periods, and we've got, wow, exactly, oops, I did something wrong. We have 185 months. All right? So geometric average, you do your ending value. Anybody remember this part? Raised to the what? 1 divided by 85, that sound familiar? Right, Lindsay, you are doing that in the class right now, right? We have 185 months. And then what's the last part? Minus 1. Freddie, remember that? You're not here for this, so.
I had one.
You're not, yeah. All right, so the Fidelity Fund had an average return of 85 basis points a month. The index was up 63. How do we annualize these? Do you remember that, Liz? Take your ending value, raise it not to the 1 divided by 185, but what divided by 185? This is monthly. 12. 12 divided by 185, and then minus 1. So there's your annualized return. So here's Fidelity, here's Vanguard, and here's the Alpha. I don't know why I can't spell the word Vanguard. All right, so what is the alpha? It's the annualized return minus the annualized benchmark. So your alpha is right, 10.67 minus 781. So they have a really good alpha, don't they? 286. We can look at the standard deviation of the Fidelity Fund. And we can do it versus the Vanguard Fund. And then how do you annualize standard deviation? You take the monthly standard deviation and multiply it by the square root of 12. I'll go back over this again. So that looks really, really good too. Not only does fund have a higher return, it actually has a lower standard deviation. That's pretty impressive. And then we do tracking error. Anybody remember how to do tracking error? So we can do the monthly alpha. The monthly alpha, which is for every month, we go in and say, how did Fidelity do versus the market? We just do that difference. And so, anybody remember what the tracking error is? Tracking error is the standard deviation of those alphas, monthly alphas. We don't annualize that, that's just what it is. It's the standard deviation. And the information ratio, anybody remember that? I did this really fast in class, but anybody remember what the information ratio is? It's your alpha divided by your tracking error. So their information ratio is 1.32. What's a good information ratio? Anything above 1 is traditionally considered to be a good information ratio. So this looks really strong. So what are we saying? They had a really high alpha. Their tracking error was high, but the alpha was so high that it's almost like a t-statistic. So what we're asking is, was this alpha due to luck or skill? If they had a really high tracking error, which means 1 month they just did extremely well, that's the only reason they're performing because they just had one really, really great month, then yeah, they might have had a tracking error of like 80% or something horrible. So you can say, hey, it may not be skill, it might just be purely be luck. So you think about a t-statistic, you take that difference over the standard deviation, you're trying to say if it's statistically significant. We're trying to ask, is their performance statistically significant? Is it skill or luck? So an information ratio above 1, I don't know if there's any statistics to that, but this is historically what we've had. All right?